It's game 2 of our series against the San Antonio Missions, and we're joined by Jason Cole of Lone Star Dugout, also writes for Baseball Prospectus. Jason is also my regular television partner on KTXD. And Jason, first things first, I want to talk a little bit about last night's starting pitcher for the Rough Riders, Cody Buckel. There was a step in the right direction, a glimmer of hope in his 2 scoreless innings after the 3-run first. He still walked 6 batters in 3 innings. What did you see from Cody? Is there a sign of maybe things improving from where he has been earlier in the season when he couldn't make it out of the second inning?
Well, the second and third inning were each progressively better, which was nice to see, and I think they got him out of there. Coming off a positive inning, so he leaves with a good taste in his mouth, which he had not done so far this season. That was good to see, but overall the problems were still there, not quite as severe as they had been. One of the interesting things about Cody is that his velocity had been very, very good in the first couple outings. It was really the highest he had been in pro ball, sitting in 92, 93. He'd been up to 97 in his last outing before yesterday. More 89, 92, sit 90, 91 yesterday. It looked like he scaled back the effort a little bit in an effort to throw strikes. But the biggest issues there was the whole body just looked out of sync. All the parts when you look at the legs, the torso, the upper body, the head, and the arm. And the biggest thing in that was that the arm was dragging. The body was coming around before the arm was ready. His hands, he tends to break his hands a little bit later than a lot of guys as it is, but normally the arm can catch up fine. He's having problems with that right now, so that's when you see a lot of those high arm side misses, which we saw quite a bit yesterday. And then every once in a while you'd see an overcorrect where he kind of jerks off the ball and it bounces in the dirt to the first base side. So there was a little bit of that yesterday, and that's the biggest thing that I noticed. He was able to correct it a little bit. As you saw when in the first inning, it was 4 out of every 5 pitches were like that, and 1 out of every 5 would be good. By the end, it was maybe 3 out of 5 would be good, and 2 out of 5 would be bad. So it was a little bit of improvement. Who knows what his next start will look like, but if this happens for a couple of other starts, you have to think the Rangers are going to have to make a decision in what you do with him, because obviously you have to start thinking about how can we put him in the best position possible to get it turned around. And when this happens for a little bit, it becomes a mental thing. It becomes about the mental aspect and how you can put him in that best place mentally, whether that's extended spring training or the bullpen. I'm not sure if I do bullpen. We've all heard about the routine, the long toss routine, which was toned down a little bit yesterday before his games. And if you put a guy like that in the bullpen, and all of a sudden he's never had to relieve before, and he doesn't get to go through his starting routine and all that, then you might create a little bit more of you're just putting more in his head. So maybe extended spring training would happen. Who knows? Maybe the next start he continues making steps in the right direction. But it'll be interesting to watch here over the next week or so how it unfolds.
One pitcher who did throw well, Randy Henry, threw 3 innings yesterday, did get touched up for his first run, an unearned run after the missed pop-up by Zaneski. But he pitched well. He's thrown well all season long. And he's an intriguing guy who doesn't have a set role like most prospect players do. He's that long relief guy, and usually those players are not well thought of in terms of being prospects.
Yeah, and Henry, as you mentioned, is. And one of the things, I talked to Danny Clark, the Rangers minor league pitching coordinator, late in the offseason. I said, have you guys made a decision on what Randy Henry will do this year? Because he both started and relieved last year. He was a part-time closer in Myrtle Beach. And he said, we're leaning towards bullpen, but we're not sure yet. And Henry was one of those guys in spring training that would go 1 inning sometimes, he'd go 3 innings sometimes. It was just keeping the options open. And, maybe Henry would be more of a short reliever if Buckel had been pitching deep into games as the Rangers had expected. But Henry's really been, Buckel's longest outing through 4 starts has been 3 innings. So Henry's kind of been pushed into a long relief role, and he's one of those guys that can handle that because he has the starting background. But I think long-term, you're looking at Henry out of the bullpen. The stuff in a way is a little bit right-handed Robbie Ross. He's a cutter slider guy. He was throwing 93 with cut at times yesterday. And, the cutter will, for the most part, will be in that 89 to 91 range. He can get it up to 93, 94. He can mix in a 4 and 2 seam every once in a while, 93, 94. And the slider is going to be 83 to 85, 86. Coming in a relief role, he won't mix in a lot of curveballs or changeups like he did last year as a starter. But just a guy that can really manipulate the ball and get that cut and slide on it like Robbie Ross does from the left side. And it's been nice to see. The command last year was a little hit or miss, but he's commanded the ball very well so far this year. And he's definitely a guy that has good stuff with a lot of life. The cutter's easily a plus pitch. The slider, generally an average pitch, looked very, very sharp last night, though. And there's nothing wrong with it. With an average big league pitch, especially when you have another plus one to go with it. So yeah, an intriguing guy to watch that's pitched extremely well so far this year.
Here with Jason Cole of Lone Star Dugout and Baseball Prospectus. Jason, tonight's starting pitcher Neil Ramirez has been outstanding at the start of this season. The stuff has been good. The location has been good. He's had a couple bad innings here or there, but by and large, he has looked like a different guy than what the Rangers saw at two different levels last season.
Yeah, Ramirez came in the last season coming off that breakout 2011 campaign. 2012 is obviously disappointing. He had the highest ERA in the PCL, close to or above 7.5 when he got sent back down here to Frisco. The stuff is back. That's the biggest thing. He's healthy. He's been sitting in the mid-90s consistently during his starts. He's got that hard slider now to go along with the curveball and the changeup. And so, he's a four-pitch guy. A guy that the Rangers thought might be pitching out of the bullpen during spring training. He was going one inning every time out. And as it turned out, with just the way things shook out in spring training, there was an extra starting spot here in Frisco that, Neil, Danny Clark, when I talked to him the other day, another thing he said was Neil wanted to start. We wanted to give him another shot to start, and he's taken it and run with it so far. A guy with good stuff. The command is always going to be the thing to watch with him. And as you said, there's been a couple innings here and there where the command's been off, but it's been a little bit better each time out, and it'll be interesting to see if he can build on it tonight in a pitcher-friendly ballpark, but also a place where I know Neil has some good memories, and he's had some very good outings. Late last year, he had a good outing here where his fastball was up to 97, and that was one where he started to kind of get back on the right track, and he came into spring training healthy, and the stuff has looked good really ever since.
Finally, there's also an intriguing prospect on the other side starting tonight in Burch Smith, a pitcher whose statistics have been even better than Ramirez, another highly regarded guy, a heavy fastball. What do you know about Burch?
Yeah, he's a Tyler native, played his junior college ball at Howard JC, where quite a few big guys have gone. His team they won a national title and only lost once. And then Smith moved on to University of Oklahoma, was a weekend starter for them there, and drafted by the Padres. Really kind of a guy that popped up. He was always a little bit of an arm strength guy, but popped up last year, showing a mid-90s fastball. And so far this year, the velocity keeps going up. He's been touching the upper 90s, sitting comfortably in the mid-90s. This is my first time to see him. I've talked to a lot of people about him, so I'm looking forward to seeing him out here today, seeing what the command and the secondary stuff looks like. However, I believe he's only walked 3 batters through his first 3 starts, and he's got something like 20 strikeouts in 16 innings or so. So the numbers have been great. I know for sure that the fastball has been great. I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of the package looks like, because he's a guy that it sounds like could be a factor for the Padres pretty soon.
Well, Jason, great stuff as always. Thanks for joining us on the pregame. And you can catch Jason on Lone Star Dugout, Baseball Prospectus, and on our KTXD TV broadcast. Thanks a lot for the time, Jason.
Thanks for having me on, and I look forward to getting our first TV game here pretty soon.
That's Jason Cole. We're back after this on the Frisco Rough Riders Baseball Network.